All right, man. Let's move on now to the Leafs.
Do we have
Lepore.
to?
I forgot that we still
it's so
talk
much
about the
fun
Leafs.
talking about other teams on a Sunday, Bruno. It's Canada Day weekend. We're talking about other teams. Why gotta spoil everything? Let's start talking about the blue and white team that we don't think is as good.
Oh, this Leaf team.
Yeah,
They still keep me up at night sometimes, Lepore,
yeah.
thinking
Even
about
when
what
they're
could have
out, they do
been.
annoying things.
But there was some news earlier this week in Leafland. The Toronto Maple Leafs re-signed Wayne Simmonds
The
to a
Wayne train.
2-year deal for $900,000 a year. And then we also got some news regarding Freddie Anderson, where his agent has thrown it out there and he told Pierre LeBrun that Anderson is interested in coming back to Toronto, which I think it makes sense. Like if I was Freddie Anderson, I'd also want to come back to the
Yeah.
Leafs. But let's start things off, Lepore, with Wayne Simmonds.
Okay.
What is your take on re-signing the Wayne train?
I feel like I kind of see you grinning behind that microphone as you're like asking this question about Wayne Simmonds. Okay, I think I sit where a lot of Leafs fans sit with this deal because like there's like brain take and then there's like heart emotional take because the brain take is 900 grand. Who cares? He's in the depth. It's a contract you can bury. They say guys really like him in the room and he's great on the bench. He had a rough season. He broke his wrist or his hand. So maybe we didn't even get to see all of Simmonds. And if that's the case, we got a great deal because he's what, 600,000 less than we had him for last year. So there's that side where it's like, yeah, it's all fine. Whatever. Move on. Let's not even talk about it. But then there's the hard emotional take that's like, no. And the reason why that side of me feels that way is because after what we went through in this playoffs, this team needs to be changed. This team needs to be changed. Something. Now, I'm not saying not bringing back Wayne Simmonds would have been that big change, but right now, I don't think Leafs fans want more of the same. And everyone was happy about the Spezza deal. Like we've talked about on this show, how like Spezza is the one exception to everything Toronto Maple Leafs right now. But as far as Wayne Simmonds goes, it still hurts. That playoff loss still hurts. And his performance wasn't good. And we talked about on this show that both Thornton and Simmonds, those two signings would be looked at in the future as failures. Because Simmonds, even if he was hurt and it didn't work out, well, it still sucked. It still didn't work out. So I shook my head when I heard about it. Like my initial thing, because your heart hits you first before your brain. So I shook my head and I was like, kind of like, oh God, in like 2 years. But I'm sure as like time moves forward and my brain side of it kicks in more, even more, I'll just look at it and be like, who cares? Like really, like similar to what I said about the Thornton deal last year. If you hate it, you're overthinking it. If you love it, you're overthinking it. It's a depth guy making 900 grand. And based on how this team's built, that's how this team this is how this team has to be structured. It's how they have to do it, whether it's with guys we already have or with new guys. So I'll ask you, Bruno, what was your take when you heard the news about Simmonds?
Yeah, my initial reaction was the same. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's
Like you're
funny. It's
really
funny how
bring.
something so small is like so negative when it hit you, right?
And you know what? I've been on the record on this podcast saying that I don't think the Leafs should bring back Wayne Simmonds and Joe Thornton. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that they should completely commit to the true identity of this team, which is speed, skill, aggressive offensive play, explosiveness, guys in the bottom six that can create offense. And Wayne Simmonds was just not that dude this season.
Right.
And the big thing that pissed me off with Wayne Simmonds actually wasn't his inability to score, because we know that he's obviously not the same guy he used to be in Philadelphia, where he was like among the league leaders in power play goals. This is a guy that doesn't have foot speed. His skating ability is basically zero at this point.
Terrible. Yeah.
He can't move. He can't create offense. But what pissed me off the most was his inability to assert himself physically, and especially in the playoffs. Like, you know, when I saw like Josh Anderson taking runs at him and taking runs at other players, like those are kind of the things that I wanted to see from Wayne Simmonds. I wanted to see him shot out of a cannon and bring
Mhm.
his physicality and, affect the game in that way, especially in the playoffs. And I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
That's why, I said, I don't know whether it was 2 or 3 shows ago that I said they shouldn't bring back Wayne Simmonds and Joe Thornton and just bring back or just fill the bottom six with players who can provide offense, create scoring chances. I mean, kind of in a way like Tampa's built at this point. And I know
Yeah.
Tampa has some hard-nosed guys in that bottom six, like Barkley Gaudreau and Pat Maroon and Blake Coleman, who can do a lot of things. But the more I thought about this signing, I came back and thought about it the same way as you, Lepore. It's just another body in the bottom six making $900,000. And I think the big reason they brought him back, and maybe they'll come out and say this at some point, is culture. Because
Yeah, it's 100% why. 100%
I think
why.
he was a big voice in that room. And you've heard the team talk about this in the past, specifically going back to last season, where no one on the bench was vocal. Like I'm talking about going back to 1920, the year they lost to Columbus in the qualifying round, where there wasn't that like vocal presence on the bench or that vocal presence in the locker room, right? Like that older guy, that elder statesman who's been around the block, who's gone through a lot of different things during his NHL career. And I think Wayne Simmonds really provided that for this team this season. And you can see like visibly on the bench, like he was that guy. Like I even think back to that time. Remember when Hyman scored that goal in the regular season and he was so fired up and he came to the bench and him and Simmonds had that big high five. So I
saw
think
that gif a few thousand times. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So I think, Leafs management thought about that and said, we need at least one of these guys in our bottom six. And listen, he's not going to do much. He's just another guy at the end of the day. But I think it was just a big move for the culture and the chemistry of that locker room to bring back Wayne Simmonds. And I think it's really as simple as that.
And but what you said, all of a snap attack if they bring Thornton back.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care what number, because Thornton's the name's too big. So you can't just bring him back and not care. It kind of commands attention and it's annoying. And that I do not want back. I do not want them to touch Joe Thornton.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If Thornton comes back, I think that'll be a disaster, because with Simmonds, like they didn't have to start him out on the first line and give him all these opportunities. Whereas like Thornton comes in, it's like, oh, we're going to start him with Matthews and Marner on the first line. And he's going to get a look on the first power play unit because he's Joe Thornton. And like, no, that experiment failed and they better not bring him back. So I'm right there with you, Lepore, on that one.
Yeah, and we need the money for Corey Perry too, right? So
there it is. I was waiting for it, Lepore.
Let's do it, boys. Come on. You know you want to, Corey. Come on. You know you want to, Corey. Blue and white, 94. Come on.
Deep down, Corey Perry wants to be a Maple Leaf.
Oh, come on, Corey.
You just know he does. We're gonna speak it into existence, Lepore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really is as simple as that with Wayne Simmonds.